The kingdom of Ethris gleamed like a dream carved from sunlight. White towers stretched toward skies brushed with gold, their glass spires bending light into rainbows that never faded. Every street shimmered with quiet order. The air itself seemed to hum with peace, a fragile kind of stillness too flawless to be real. To the people, Ethris was perfection. A utopia untouched by hunger or war, ruled by monarchs said to be chosen by the gods themselves. But beneath the crystal streets and shiners, ancient whispers lingered, stories buried in forbidden books and hushed prayers. They spoke of a pact sealed in blood, of protectors who were not entirely human, of power drawn from something darker than light. That bloodline was called Decora. For centuries, the Decoras guarded the royal family, silent, loyal, unbreakable. They appeared at the palace gates, on city rooftops, the shadows of royal halls. Their presence was both a blessing and a warning. A Decora's vow was sacred, to protect the crown with their life and obey without question. No one remembered a time when they hadn't existed. No one dared to ask where their power came from. And among them all, none was more feared than Ophelia Decora. She was the youngest of her line, yet the strongest in generations. Tall, lithe, her dark skin gleaming under the moonlight, marked with tattoos that pulsed faintly when danger neared. Her dreadlocks, thick and long, framed her sharp face like black flames, one or two falling always her left eye. The other eye, an impossible shade of gold, carried the glint of someone who had seen too much. It was said that when Ophelia looked at you, really looked, your soul froze. That morning, Ethris was waking under a pale dawn. Bells rang through the capital, calling nobles to ceremony. Inside the palace, servants hurried through marble halls, and petals rained down from balconies to honor the princess's return from her studies abroad. Princess Leora, the kingdom's radiant jewel, daughter of Queen Seraphine, heir to the throne. Leora was everything Ethris celebrated: beauty, grace, innocence. But to Ophelia, she was a duty, the single life she had been born to protect. Ophelia stood in the courtyard as the royal carriage rolled through the golden gates. Her black wrappings, fitted to her body like armor, shifted in the breeze. The wrappings hid more than skin, they held in the power that slept within her blood. Around her neck and arm, the black tattoos glowed faintly, like veins of embers. When Leora stepped down, the crowd cheered. The princess smiled, her silver robes catching the light. But her eyes, pale and soft, met Ophelia's for only a moment. And in that moment, something unspoken passed between them, gratitude mixed with fear. Because even Leora knew what Ophelia's family truly was. Later that day, in the palace training yard, steel clashed. Ophelia moved like a storm, her staff slicing the air, blocking and striking faster than sight. Young guards watched in awe, and a little terror. None dared challenge her except Captain Rowan, an old soldier with scars across his face. He laughed between swings. Still fighting shadows, Decora. Ophelia smirked. The shadows fight back harder than you. When the session ended, she withdrew to the palace gardens. It was the only place where she allowed herself to breathe. There, among the crystal fountains and blooming ivy, Finn met him, the boy who didn't belong. Kale. He wasn't a noble, nor a soldier. He lived beyond the walls, in the lower quarters where the sunlight faded behind industry smoke. But somehow, Kale always found his way into forbidden places. He had a knack for disappearing before anyone could catch him, except Ophelia. Then, she found him sitting on the marble fountain, tossing a coin into the water. His hair, dark and unkempt, framed a mischievous grin. "You know," he said, not looking up, "for someone who guards the princess, you spend a lot of time in the gardens." She crossed her arms. "And for someone who isn't supposed to be here, you talk too much." He looked up then, bold, unafraid. "Maybe I like testing my luck. Maybe I like seeing how close I can get before the famous Ophelia Decora decides to kill me." "Keep talking," she muttered, though a faint smile ghosted across her lips. Kale had that effect, reckless, fearless, alive in a way that Ethris itself wasn't. He made her aware of the cage she lived in, even if she'd know it. As the sun sank, bells echoed again. A warning bell. Faint, distant, but sharp. Ophelia's body tensed. Her tattoos flickered with crimson light. Stay here, she ordered, but Kale had already jumped to his feet. They both saw it then, a plume of dark smoke rising northern edge of the city. Attack? He asked. No, she whispered. Summers. She vanished into the air, leaving only a shimmer of red light. Moments later, she stood in the northern quarter, the once bright streets now consumed by shadow. Civilians ran screaming. The air smelled of metal and ash. And at the center of it all stood a creature that did not belong to Ethris, tall, twisted, its form flickering like a broken reflection. It saw her and laughed, a sound like cracking glass. Protector, it hissed. Still bound by your master's blood. Ophelia's pulse surged. She raised her weapon. Leave now, or die here. The creature grinned. You can't kill what you come from. And in that instant, she hesitated, because something in its voice felt too familiar. She struck anyway. The courtyard erupted in red light and smoke. When it cleared, the creature was gone, but the words remained, echoing in her mind. You can't kill what you come from. Back at the palace, the Queen's Council debated the event. The creature's appearance had shaken even the most faithful. But when Ophelia reported it, the Queen only said, You've done well. Do not concern yourself with the rest. Your Majesty, Ophelia said, frowning, that thing knew who I was. Queen Seraphine's eyes narrowed. Then remember your place, Decora. You protect, not question. Her tone carried the weight of centuries of command. Ophelia bowed, but as she turned, she saw Leora watching her, guilt flickering in the princess's pale eyes. That night, Ophelia stood alone in her quarters, the city's glow washing over her face. Her tattoos shimmered faintly, restless. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heartbeat against the magic inside her. It was a rhythm older than Ethris itself. Outside, a shadow moved along the rooftops, Kale, climbing where he shouldn't. He peered through her window, just long enough to see her, standing like a statue of the moon. He didn't understand her world, but something in her silence pulled at him, a gravity he couldn't escape. And from the courtyard below, the royal banners fluttered in the wind, bearing the crest of Ethris, a white sun with a bleeding center. The people said it was a symbol of eternal light. But to Ophelia, it looked too much like a wound. As the moon rose high, the wind whispered through the towers. Somewhere deep beneath the palace, in a chamber no one remembered, an ancient seal pulsed once, faint, red, alive. And far above, Ophelia Decora closed her eyes. She didn't know yet that the blood she carried, the duty she lived for, and the light she protected, were all bound to the same lie. Ethris was a kingdom divided. The queen's banners were lowered, her guard doubled, and strange figures cloaked in white entered the palace through secret halls. The air reeked of ritual. Ophelia stood before Queen Seraphine, summoned to the throne room. Your Majesty, she said, bowing. I felt the tremor again beneath the palace. The seal is weakening. The queen's gaze was calm, too calm. That is not your concern. With respect, my blood reacts to it. Whatever is bound there, is what keeps Ethris alive. Seraphine's voice cut through her words like a blade. And you, child of Decora, were created to maintain that balance. You will obey. Ophelia's fists clenched. Created. The queen rose. You think your family was chosen by gods? No, the gods left long. We made our own. Your line was bred from the old things we trapped beneath this city, vessels of their power, bound by royal command. You are not protector, Ophelia. You are the chain. Her world tilted. The breath left her chest. All the centuries of obedience, all the legends of loyalty, lies. The Decoras were never guardians of Ethris. They were its prisoners. And the creature that had spoken to her, it had not been her enemy. It had been kin. She turned sharply, but before she could leave, guards filled the doorway. The queen's tone was final. When the seal breaks, you will be the offering. The bond must be renewed. Her golden eye flickered red. You mean sacrifice. Seraphine didn't deny it. That evening, Kale waited for her in the gardens, unaware. When Ophelia found him, her face was pale beneath the moonlight. They're going to kill me, she said simply. He froze. What? They call it renewal. The blood that keeps Ethris shining, is ours. The Decoras were never meant to live long. Every century, one must die to seal the curse again. He took a step forward. Then we run. There's nowhere to run to. My blood is bound to the city. If I leave, it'll fall. He shook his head. Then let it fall. Let them choke on their own perfection. She looked at him, and for the first time, smiled, sad, soft, knowing. You don't understand. I was born from the darkness beneath this city. If it breaks loose, it won't just destroy Ethris. It will consume everything. Kale gritted his teeth. There has to be another way. There isn't. Then silence. Only the wind and the faint hum of the fountains. He stepped closer, eyes fierce. I can't lose you. You never had me, she whispered, though her voice trembled. And then, finally, his hand found hers, rough and warm. Then tell me I never will. She couldn't. Instead, leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his, and let the truth fall from her lips, barely a breath. I love you. He closed his eyes, breaking. Then don't die. I was dead before you met me, she said. You just made me remember what living felt like. And then she left, before he could stop her. That night, the palace burned with torches. The ritual chamber beneath the throne pulsed with crimson light. Queen Seraphine stood at its center, surrounded by priests in white. The air smelled of incense and iron. And on the marble altar, bound by chains of light, was Ophelia Decora. Her tattoos flared with defiance, the glow from her skin clashing against the holy sigils etched into the floor. Leora watched from the steps, her expression unreadable, until Kale was dragged in by guards, struggling, bleeding. Let him go, Ophelia shouted, but the queen only smiled. He will witness the price of disobedience. Leora's voice trembled as she approached. Mother, stop this. But Seraphine turned cold eyes upon her. He toyed with you, my child, his never yours. Kale spat blood. You're right. It never was. His gaze locked on Ophelia. It's hers. Leora froze. The words struck like knives. Something inside her, long hidden, long aching, snapped. She whispered to Ophelia. You took everything, Leora. But the princess's eyes blazed with fury. No, you were always above me, always closer to her power, her trust, his love. You should have stayed in the shadows. The priests began to chant. The air vibrated. Chains of red light rose around Ophelia, pulling her body upward. Her veins lit from within. Kale screamed, breaking free long enough to reach her side, but a wall of energy hurled him back. Don't fight it, the queen said. Your blood will save us all. Ophelia's voice broke. No, it'll damn you. And then, everything shattered. The seal beneath the chamber cracked open, spilling darkness like liquid fire. The ground quaked. The priests were thrown into the air. Screams filled the hall. Queen Seraphine tried to hold the spell together, but the darkness was alive, furious, ancient. Ophelia's chains burst. Her tattoos blazed gold and red. The creature's words in her mind. You can't kill what you come from. She understood now. She wasn't meant to seal the darkness. She was the darkness, given flesh, given will. And she would choose her own ending. Her voice rose through the chaos. Ethris was built on our blood. No more. The light erupted from her chest, a blinding storm that swallowed the chamber. When the world stilled, the palace was silent. The banners had burned. The queen's throne lay cracked. And at the center of it all lay Ophelia, her body lifeless, her eyes closed, but her face peaceful for the first time. Kale crawled to her side, broken, tears cutting through the ash on his face. He took her hand, still warm, and pressed it to his heart. You did it, he whispered. You're free. Above them, the dawn broke, pale and trembling, but real. For the first time in centuries, Ethris's light came from the sun, not blood. The curse was gone. Leora stood near the ruins, her silver robes torn, her eyes hollow. She looked at Kale, and for once, there was no hatred, only shame. She saved us. Kale didn't look up. No, she saved you. Then he rose, carrying Ophelia's body through the shattered gates, past the people kneeling in stunned silence. When he reached the edge of the city, he laid her down beneath the first rays of morning. The wind caught her dreadlocks, lifting them gently, as if the world itself bowed in mourning. And as the sun rose higher, a strange thing happened. The black markings on her skin began to fade, turning to light, then dust, then air. The people watched as that light spread across the land, seeping into the soil, the towers, the rivers, purging every trace of the curse. Ethris was no longer perfect. Its streets cracked, its illusions broke, but its people breathed for the first time. Kale looked to the sky. Rest now, he murmured. And though no one could see it, far above the clouds, where the light met the horizon, a faint golden glimmer flickered, the echo of her eye, watching. The city would rebuild. The people would remember. And the legend of Ophelia Decora, the protector who defied her masters and died for truth, would become the story that finally set Ethris free. The shadow had ended, but from it, a dawn had begun. It made it this far. Thank you for listening. Every view, every comment, every moment means more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and stay tuned for the next story, because this is only the beginning.